Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to our Sunday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton himself. We got a lot to get into on the show, of course. We'll continue to review the post-mortem, if you will, of the Longhorns' big win over Vanderbilt. Then we can start talking about some of the more macro conversations about the Longhorns. We'll talk about what Steve Sarkisian had to say in his post-game media availability. But, of course, the show belongs to you guys. Questions, comments, throw them out there. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. Super chats always jump to the front of the line so you can interrupt the show at any time. I got my second watch already done. I'm sure Jerry's rewatched the game already, so we'll give you our thoughts starting out. But Jerry, before we get into some of the questions, I know we got a lot of questions, super chats that'll get lined up here, and we'll try to get to all of them, guys. So throw them out there. What were your thoughts? I know you went back and rewatched the game, Texas Vandy. What were your thoughts about the overall performance? Anything that you picked up on the second watch that you didn't really see initially?
Not really. I mean, one of the things I mentioned on this morning was this was the first game I recall that Arch didn't miss a layup throw.
Oh, he did.
It was like a little out route. The little bubble or the little
one. It was just one.
There was one that was low.
Yeah.
But he played as easily his best game he has at Texas. Easily his best game. And I think I want to ask you about the secondary, because I think there's more to it than there's more to it than injuries or a single blown coverage, or I think there was a lot of things in that game. Not tackling well in space necessarily. But look, at anytime you're up 17-0, anytime you're up 21 points against a quality team, Vanderbilt's a quality team. Diego Pavi is a quality player. His brother's nuts, apparently, based on the videos that are going around from DKR.
Pavia Mafia,
yeah. But anytime you get up 21 in a game like that, you're doing a lot right. Did it end the way we wanted it to? Absolutely not, other than the victory, right? I mean, but I thought there was so much more good than bad that came out of that game. I don't know what some of Colin Simmons has to do to get a holding call, or a couple of these guys have to do to get a holding call.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything I see anymore, honestly. But look, I thought Texas, the number one thing I wanted to see coming off of Mississippi State was some level of consistency offensively. And we finally got a carryover two games in a row. There had not been an offensive, and the cupcakes don't count. There had not been an offensive carryover 2 games in a row this season.
Nope.
That's the most positive thing that came out of the game. And I'm going to continue to say this, Rod. If this offense continues to progress, and I'm not saying ascend and be something we're not expected to be, but slowly progress, we're going to look back and say that A.J. Milwee moving to the booth was really big for this team and for Sark.
I think you might be on to something there, Jay. I think among the many solutions that Sark has, obviously presented to try to, help this offense, try to fix the problematic areas with his offense, the A.J. Milwee one is, I don't know if it's how we can quantify it, but certainly it seems that him going to the booth and Texas kind of finding their form offensively, it does seem to coincide. So I think it is part of it. I think Sark also has humbled himself a little bit about this offense. I mean, the average depth of target, if you go look at it in that game, I mean, it was the second lowest versus any Power 4 team for Texas. He had a 6.1 average depth of target in that game. I think in Oklahoma game it was 4. His time to throw, 2.5 seconds. It was his quickest or fastest time to throw of the season. Ball was out of his hands, which insulated him in pass protection, and it also helped out the offensive line. I thought, obviously, moving Cole Hudson to guard and having Connor Robertson at center, that's helped out tremendously. Seems like you have now your best 5 on the offensive line. I think, a big part of it, and I know Sark loves balance, but you need to be pass first. You got to lead with the pass. That is the strength. Your wide receivers need to be featured more than any other position, more than a running back, more than tight end. That's why less 12, more 11. I mean, CJ's been on that soapbox for a minute now, and he's right. You need to start featuring 11 personnel, more wide receivers, because that's truly your strength. You're deep at wide receiver. You're a little bit injured right now, but you're deep there. And not a lot of teams got a third or fourth defensive back that can run with your guys. So I think there's a lot of it. The early game, early down pass rate is probably 60%. So he's leading with the pass. Let the run complement the passing game. And like you said, the carryover is because Arch has carried over. Arch had his first back-to-back against talking about legit opponents, but really his first back-to-back consistent performances. Yep. So the season, back-to-back stretch of consistent high-level play. We hadn't seen it. Usually it's been erratic. It's been one good game, then one so-so game. He's been off, but there's no doubt now building on Mississippi State and now building on this recent performance versus Vanderbilt. They seem to have found something, and I'm with you. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think the Millie thing is a big part of it. I think some of these other slight adjustments and modifications also have helped the offense. I mean, think about the yak yardage. So in the last 2 weeks, all right, 65% of Arch's yards have come yak yards after the catch. You had 250 versus Vandy, 250, and you had 201 versus Mississippi State. Guys, you hadn't gotten over 103 all season long. Your highest was 103 versus Kentucky in terms of yak yards. Sark has a yak offense, so the yak is back in the offense. So I'm with you, Jerry. I think there's a lot to be excited about. They almost, as a team, put together a full, complete game. Almost. They were close. It was about maybe 3.5 quarters of it as a team. But I think I'm with you. I think you'll see carryover offensively from 3 games, I guess now, maybe a 3-game stretch, kind of forming the identity of this offense going forward.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting because the one thing I would caution is, all problems are solved. One thing I would say is Georgia and even Texas A&M present different challenges on the front 7 than Vanderbilt does. Much higher level talent, pass rushers, A-gap. Those Georgia linebackers are going to be slamming the A-gaps. So is Texas going to hold up in what Georgia's going to do against Texas? Rod, the other thing I want to ask you is secondary, because that's probably been the biggest topic on message boards and on chats and any DMs or anything. Your thoughts on the secondary in general from yesterday? Obviously, the 2 safety injuries are huge, but beyond that, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think people do have to understand that if any secondary in the country loses 2 starters during the game, it's usually going to be some drop off. And Texas not only down 2 starters, but they had already lost Michael Taft as a starter. So you essentially were down 3 starters. And I said Texas, essentially had probably more depth at safety than any other position that you could look at other than the edge on defense, but it was certainly tested in that game. So what I saw ultimately, number one, you do miss Michael Taft. I know a lot of y'all mock it out there when I start talking about Michael Taft, but I think the secondary missed him. Guys, since he's been out, go look. I mean, you've played, I guess, some better quarterbacks, some guys who are, I think, they're more familiar with their system. I think about how long Pavia has been in that system, right? It's probably his 4th year in that system. Think about Shapen in that veer and shoot, been in that system a long time, facing quarterbacks who are well acquainted with their system, so they know all the fail safes. They know, right? They know exactly how to get themselves in the right play at the right time. So I think that has been challenging, because usually if you're talking about disguising and you're talking about trying to discombobulate a quarterback, right, with different disguises, how you rotate your safeties pre and post snap, your safeties having veteran knowledge of the system and also being able to get other guys in the right place. That means a lot. You don't really have that back there right now, missing Michael Taft. Sark was really upset about the touchdown before the half. That wasn't so much on the safeties as it was misalignment on the second level with the linebackers. They went empty formation. And I mean, it was pretty obvious that you got 3-by-2. That linebacker needs to at least shade over the 3.
Especially when Anthony Hill's a blitzer on that play.
Exactly, right?
And that's a young guy, Ty Anthony Smith, being out of position a little bit. Heck of a player, was out of position there, was misaligned.
Yeah, and not saying, even Sark said they might have scored, but you need to force that quarterback to at least hold the ball a split second longer, and he would have if you had him shaded over there. So
you would have had to throw it with a higher trajectory, which gives you time to close.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Michael Taft would have got him aligned right, but I'm just saying, missing guys in the secondary, that's part of that communication. So I think ultimately there are some things now that opposing teams have figured out against the Texas secondary that work pretty well. And I think you're going to get teams kind of stacking on those concepts, and we can get into that obviously on the live stream. The busted coverage on the Eli Stowers touchdown, there's no excuse for that. I don't care how many guys are hurt in your secondary. That was, to me, it looked like cover 2, but it was busted so badly, the coverage, that you can tell if it was quarters or if it was cover 2. I think it was cover 2, and this is my opinion. I don't know the coverage rules. Every coverage has their own distinct rules. They change them based on matchups and all that kind of stuff. But usually in cover 2, you carry the number 1 when the number 2 goes vertical. Number 2, it was basically kind of a 4 verse concept. So you carry that number 2, and number 2 went vertical, occupies that safety. Then if that corner has no threat in the flat, which he didn't, running back was away. All right. Yep. So you had no threat. Usually you would sink and carry that number 1 as far as you can. Maybe if a quarterback starts breaking the pocket, you decide, hey, I got to get to my flat. But if you look at that play, Trey Moore is dropping back.
Yeah.
They have Trey Moore in the flat. Mm-hmm. Trey Moore drops back in the flat. So actually, if you know the defense, there's no need for you. He kind of drops back to being like a curl flat player. There's no need for you to really be worried about it because there's no threat there, receiver. And you need to carry that vertical because number 2 goes vertical and help your safety out. That's the way I thought it should have gone down. But I don't know. I will say the coaches, I think they made a move after that too. I didn't see much of Gilbo after that. I think the coaches might have made a move because they thought for a veteran guy, maybe you shouldn't bust that kind of coverage. But like I said, I don't know the coverage rules. That's just my take on it. I'll also say this. The DBs need to make more plays on the ball. Listen, guys get beat. I got beat. Just playing that footage out there, right? Be getting beat. I don't want y'all sort of pulling that up and throwing it out there. All right. So what I would tell my guys, when you get beat, it's fine to get beat, but you need to make as many plays or make plays on the football too. My rule was make as many plays as you give up. You can give up a play, you can get beat. I get that, but you need to start making plays on the football. You know how many PBUs and plays on the football Texas has in the last 2 games with 80-something pass attempts they faced? 1.
Yeah.
1 PBU. 1 by the DBs, guys. That's it. It was Cade Phillips. I had a little PBU in the game versus Vandy when they came him in. That's it. Y'all got to make more plays on the football.
Yeah.
I don't care what the technique is and what your assignment is. At one point, I need y'all to start making more plays on the football. Scott, who would you guys start as cornerback number 2? I'm Malik Muhammad, right? I do think, some people say you might need to see Grayson Littleton is already solidified at nickel. They love him there. He's great. He ain't going nowhere at nickel. Because some people like to move him out to corner, but you got to be really confident who you have at nickel. Maybe if you had Taft back, you could go with a 3 safety package potentially. You're that talented there. You can go 3 safeties and then move Grayson Littleton out to the corner. I probably would start giving young Cade Phillips more reps. I think I would. I would start trying to give him more reps. And they are, by the way. I think he had his most reps in this past game. I think he had one of his highest snap counts in this past game. So that's what I would do. I think Cade Phillips is really talented. Like I said, he plays the ball aggressively too. I think our corners right now, they're not playing the ball aggressively, in my opinion. Like I said, you can give up plays and get beat. How many plays are they making on the ball, though?
Yeah.
That's something to look at.
Yeah. Well, by the way, we now lead the nation in sacks.
Exactly. So the pass rush is just as good as we thought it was going to be. Right? It's the best pass rush in the country. We all thought it would be that.
Yes.
But your coverage is not as sticky as you thought it would be. Any of us thought it would be. So the pass rush got to get home before the coverage. All right. Before we get into everything, the pass rush is elite. Thank you to our friends over at Rogue Shop. Really appreciate our friends at Rogue Shop for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream at rogueshop.com. Thank you very much, Matthew. Use that discount code you see right there on your screen on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. And they have it all, from oils and creams to flour and gummies. They also ship nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. Our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. So reach out to them, whether you're dealing with sleep deprivation, whether you're dealing with aches and pains from battling Father Time. For you, maybe it's, just anxiety overall. Our friends at Rogue Shop, they have so many great items, so many great products that can help you successfully battle those ailments. So check them out today at rogueshop.com. Remember, they use that discount code on Texas. All right. Thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop. All right, Jerry, you want to get into these questions? Because I know.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I know we got a bunch of them. So, guys, the show belongs to you today. Let's jump into it. First question, first super chat. Thank you, Juan. We appreciate it. Says that Jerry heard Auburn going after John Summerall because his wife is an Auburn alumni. Also, Jeff Traylor too. Thoughts? No mention on Drinkowitz.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on that. I mean, who knows at this point? I'd heard a while back, early in the season, that Eli Drinkowitz just have serious interest in the Auburn job. So, I mean, Auburn will have a hard time convincing me that if Eli Drinkowitz wanted the job, they could hire a better coach than him in the SEC. They'd have a hard time convincing me of that. And I'm not saying John Summerall's not a good coach. I don't know where the Jeff Traylor rumors are coming from. Ryan Nelson, Auburn isn't a better job for Drink. I'll disagree with you on that. Auburn's played for a national title, won a national title. And when they're invested in a coach, that's a good job, man. Missouri's never touched any of it. So I disagree. Ryan Nelson, I agree on a lot of stuff. I disagree with you on that. I think Auburn is a much, much, much better job for a high-end coach because they've actually proven they can go win big things and play for everything and play for all the marbles. And there's so much talent to the east of them in Atlanta and Florida. Missouri's Missouri's almost a portal job these days because there's not enough high school talent in the area.
Yeah,
it's a portal job. I mean, at Auburn you can recruit Florida, you can recruit Georgia, and you can recruit your home state. Obviously, Alabama's going to beat you more on that than not, but you can recruit better in Texas at Auburn than you can Missouri these days. So I think Missouri, that's why I think he's really good. Is he's done a tremendous job at Missouri. And they have no recruiting geography right now, which means you've got to be dependent on the portal.
Yeah, it's a good point. I agree with you on that. It does adds another layer of complexity to it. CB with the super chat here says, worst officiated Texas game since Oklahoma State.
Is that the one where they shoved Charlie Strong and called and then called the hold on Puna for that?
I know the officiating was bad, and people love to have the conversation. I'm not that kind of analyst. I don't talk trash on the officials. I know it was terrible officiating. I get it. I'm sure
when you rewatch, how many holds were not called?
A bunch of them. But like I said, they can call holding on every play, Jerry. Said, I mean, everybody who watches football can say that.
How many egregious ones did you see?
There are a bunch of them. But I would say this. I think Colin Simmons, his BGO is so elite, and he's such a skilled, freakishly, speedy pass rush on the outside.
Yeah,
he's gonna get held most of the time. Like he does. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just he is. That's why he's so great. Like he's gonna get held a lot of the time. The refs ain't gonna call it every time Colin Simmons gets held.
Yeah,
I would say they call it probably 65% of the time he's held, maybe.
And where we're at now in sports, and I'm this way. I'll be real. I don't trust anything I see anymore. There's too much gambling stuff there. I mean. Look, and I'm not saying this will happen with the SEC crew, but to have an SEC crew banned forever, you're done forever, crew. You're gone after the Auburn-Georgia game. You're done, son. Never to be seen again in the we've reached a point with all the betting, gambling stuff that's come out, crews being suspended, where people aren't going to trust anything anymore in a sporting event, and that's where we're at right now. And the SEC, we've talked about this before. The SEC would be very smart to next year institute what the ACC does and have a live look in, the transparency, have a live look in at the replays, and conversations and discussions.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to go from here on out. This season's been a disaster for the SEC fans from an officiating standpoint, and the SEC is going to have to do something about it, or it's going to get ugly in my opinion.
I want to say the first time I saw I'm going to say the XFL did it first. Something weird like that where they just basically let the crowd hear the conversation between the refs. I'm with you. I think it to me, at least justifies the reason and the rationale for the call, because the reason they gave at the time, and it still doesn't, it didn't add up.
So Rod, what do you think of the 2-point conversion call?
I mean, it didn't match the eye test, right? It didn't match. It's a magic bullet theory. It's like you telling me one thing, but my eyes are telling me another. So I get it. I mean, they said it was the wrong angle they basically said the camera that we all were watching had the wrong angle, right? All those, they had the right angle, and all the angles that we had were the wrong angle, essentially. But you either believe they're really incompetent as officials or they're corrupt.
Yeah. And this was a bad call in this game. The ball that Mosley thought it maybe caught, didn't catch. That was like officials looking at DB grab Mosley's jersey.
He did. They missed, yeah.
I mean, that one blew my mind in that game. It really did. That started the somebody's right. That
started the comeback from life. I know, but y'all cannot blame the officials for that comeback. Like always,
there was some missed tackles in space.
There were missed tackles. Come on, 4th and 19. 4th and 19, guys. Come on now. 4th and 19. We can't blame the refs for 4th and 19. So I get it. The refs, they were incompetent. It was bad. You can say they were corrupt too, but Texas still had they had a hand in that almost comeback by Vandy. That's all right. They got to correct some things. All right, K35, I'm the best. Who the heck continues to vote OU ahead of Texas? I don't know. The polls that I don't get it. That's weird.
It's horse pucky, whatever you want to call it. But it won't be like that in the college football playoff. We were discussing this on TexasFootball.com today. It's not going to be that way when the college football playoff ranking is released. They're not that dumb. They're actually going to vote. The Texas win over Oklahoma is going to matter. Yeah. So it won't be that way in the ranking that counts for Texas. It makes 0 sense, by the way.
Is Texas the best 2-loss team out there now?
I think they may be.
Because Notre Dame is in that conversation.
I think what's going to be interesting is when this college football playoff ranking comes out. That's Tuesday at 7 p.m. I believe that is. It's going to be interesting to see. Like, I could see Notre Dame or Texas. I could see it going either way. I mean, look, Texas, because here's the thing Notre Dame doesn't have going for them. Miami lost to SMU. So that's another one for Notre Dame right there. Oklahoma beating Tennessee in a weird way may help Texas, right? And we're talking about minute. I mean, is Texas 12 in this ranking and Notre Dame's 13? Is Texas 11, Notre Dame's 12? I bet they're next to each other one way or the other. The question that's going to be interesting for me with the college football playoff ranking is you absolutely can't have Georgia Tech, even though Texas has 2 losses, over Notre Dame or Texas after losing at NC State. You can't do that. Where is Virginia, Louisville, and Texas Tech? And I know it doesn't matter because, like, BYU plays at Texas Tech. Somebody's taking a loss. If Tech takes a loss to BYU at home, then that's not going to be good for them. Virginia obviously beat Louisville. But those teams have 1 loss. What are they going to do with Texas Tech, Virginia, and Louisville in this first ranking? I think, and now it's all going to play out because people are going to lose games. But I am interested to see what where they have that. For me, even though Texas has 2 losses, I have them ahead of Virginia or Louisville. I think they win the game if they play.
I think most people would too, just based off the talent gap.
That's why I think Texas is going to be 12, 13 in this first ranking. Maybe 14 at the lowest.
Okay. All right. Lane with a super chat. Thank you, Lane. We appreciate it. Maybe Pavia was distracted with all the inquiries from his underground yard sale. Vandy simp jokes, but he ran his mouth too much for this team. Yeah, I saw that before I don't know if people saw it, the interview before the game. He basically compared Texas versus Vandy. He said this is a Louis Vuitton, like kind of a Louis Vuitton sale, basically compared to basically a backyard kind of backyard garage, something like that. That's what he said about Vandy. I mean, I don't think he's talking trash. I really don't. He talks like that all the time.
Yeah,
like it's not specific to Texas. Actually, if you follow Pavia, he talks like that all the time. He talks like that for Bama games, for all the games. Like he's constantly talking, like calling the shot and saying what he's gonna do. I'll admit I'm a fan of Pavia. I've been a fan of him. I think he's got that dog in him. I think he kind of shows that.
I can't wait to watch him on Slapfest in a few years.
Exactly.
No, by the way, Brian Ellis won again. The lifetime Longhorn. Congrats, Brian Ellis won another match in Slapfest over the weekend. Saw that on Instagram.
Oh no, is that real?
Oh, it's real. We had him on the show one morning, and he had sunglasses on, and his eye was swollen. He was like sitting in darkness doing the interview with Bobby Blake, and that was pretty funny.
Hold on. Did he play sports or something, or was he just did he play ball, or was he just a Longhorn? The slap fighter you're talking about.
Oh, slap! You know what Slapfest is?
I know it is just slapping people.
Yeah, it's a contest.
It's a competition, right? Where you can just slap people and they slap you back.
Yeah,
okay, so you say he's a Longhorn though.
Brian Ellis.
Okay. And
Brian Ellis signed with Texas in the same class as Trey Allen. So that was
okay.
Bobby was at 06 or 07. I
didn't realize that. Okay. Then I apologize for my ignorance. I did not. Yeah. I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah, we had him on the show.
I got to look him up.
He was sitting in pure dark. I just DM'd him after I saw him on Slap. I thought we got to have this guy on the show. And then he came on. It was too soon after, like a week after a fight. And he was like sitting in darkness. He had his shades on. He was all swollen up. But we need to get him on again. He keeps winning.
Oh, man. That's great. All right. Learn something new every day. All right. Todd, thank you for the super chat. He says, Rod, why do cornerbacks play head up and man? Gilbo gave up an easy slant. In high school, we had cornerbacks line up outside foot at midline of the wide receiver pre-snap. Thoughts? I've complained about their leverage before. Leverage usually, it depends on if you're going to play outside leverage or inside leverage. Depends on where your help is. If you don't have help, usually we were taught you take the inside, right? So you take inside leverage, and you almost, like you said, you want to split the guy in half. And I would split him in half, and I would take inside leverage because I want to use the sideline. My biggest issue with the players, with the corners on the outside, and like I said, I agree, leverage is an issue with them. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. They don't have help inside, and they'll line up outside and give the guy an inside release. I'm like, well, if you don't have inside help, you need to be inside leverage so you can cut off the easy inside release and then force them to the outside, force the tougher throw, if you will. But I don't think they read the quick game a lot when they're off, and they're off like 8 yards is probably what they are in their off coverage. When they retreat, whether they're shuffling or whether they're backpedaling, they don't read the quick game. You're gonna look when Pavia, either it's an RPO fake to the quick game or whether he's just coming out straight drop back. You can go pause it when he is delivering the football, and the corner's eyes are usually right on the receiver, and nothing wrong with that. But if you want to get a jump on the quick game, the quarterback's the way to get the jump. We used to read 3-step. They don't have 3-step anymore, really, because guys are not under center. But you can still read the quick game because you're just reading him out of his shotgun. And if he's looking right at you, it's quick game. Like the chances are, if it's right out of the RPO fake or right out of the mesh point, or if he's as soon as he gets the snap and he's taking one step and he's looking at you, that's a good chance. It's quick game. It's quick out. It's hitch. It's slant. He's going to curl up right in front of you. And you don't have to necessarily break immediately because, everybody's worried about the double move. You can still keep the upfield shoulder, but that should slow your backpedal and slow your retreat. So you're closer to the catch point. Like sometimes these guys catch the ball in quick game, and Texas DBs are not even close to them. They're chasing. Like, why aren't they closer to the catch point so I can do what? Make more plays on the football, like I said. At least we got to get to the point you're making plays on the football.
Yes. 100%.
And that's what I would like to focus on. So that's what I was saying. Like, they got to get better with recognizing quick game. I agree about the leverage, but also teams are attacking them with, I think a lot of underneath stuff. And because Texas is giving up some of the underneath stuff, you can do that, but you can still be stickier in coverage, in my opinion. All right, let's thank our good friends over at Culligan Water before we move on. We appreciate them coming on to become new sponsors here on Texas Football. We love the friends over at Culligan, and you will too. When it comes to the water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners. Why would you? That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here in Austin, Culligan Ultra Pure has been serving the community for more than 60 years, folks. Culligan Ultra Pure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or a municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention on Texas football. Culligan Ultra Pure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, Plainview as well. So don't wait. Call Culligan Ultra Pure today. The number is 512-339-2378. That's 512-339-2378 to schedule your free water analysis. That's 512-339-2378. Better water starts with Culligan, and really appreciate them coming on board to be part of the On Texas football family. As a matter of fact, I need to reach out to our friends over at Culligan. All right, Albert, thank you for the question. How banged up is Georgia on the injury front?
I just brought that up because Jordan Hall, starting defensive lineman, he got hurt, looked like right knee against Florida, a kid that I loved in high school. I went to see him at Westover in Jacksonville, a complete stud. He's really had the injury bug in college. But that's an injury that came out of the Georgia-Florida game. So we'll see where he's at on the injury report, but it didn't look good. He walked off with a limp under his own power. It's not like they carted him off, but he didn't have the reaction of a guy that looked like he was coming back to play anytime soon, but we'll wait on the injury report. They have some injury issues in the secondary as well. The one thing Georgia got back against Florida, that's only the second time all season that they've had the 5 starting offensive linemen they wanted. They've had a lot of offensive line injuries themselves. They were starting 2 true freshmen at one point. This was the second time all season they had their 5 guys that they wanted to start all year play together. So they're a little bit healthier on the OL. Got some issues, I think, in the secondary a little bit with some nagging injuries. And then Jordan Hall, that may be a key injury for them the rest of the season if he can't go, because he was a starter and a guy who's very talented.
All right. Dylan with the super chat. Thank you, Dylan. We appreciate it. Says Spence is really starting to blossom. Excited to see him grow and be back next year as a full-time starter. A couple of huge plays for him this weekend. Yeah, the depth that Texas has now, I guess, what you want to call them, edges, because I know him and Trey Moore both kind of play linebacker and they move those guys around. But they have the versatility in pass rush personnel. I mean, they got like six, they're like 6 deep. And we were talking about Ethan Burke now has had his best stretch of football we've seen him play. Colin Simmons is playing like the best edge defender in the country. I'm going to do Brad Spence looks really impressive when you see him. Lance Jackson's been great for him. I mean, they're just really Trey Moore. I mean, you almost forget about guys. I feel bad. I mean, Trey Moore's been spectacular.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. And look, I'm not saying I know what's going to happen, but people will be trying to recruit Brad Spence to be a starter, saying you're going to be back up at Texas again, or you want to come be a starter for more cash. So you never know what's going to happen in the offseason here with these guys, but you would love to have Brad Spence a second year. I will say that. I think Texas pass rush, even with the loss of Anthony Hill and the loss of Ethan Burke, because I do think Anthony Hill will go pro. I think Texas pass rush will be one of the top in the country once again next year, if not slightly better, except for Anthony Hill.
Maybe 3 years in a row. Then that'd be, yeah. Juan here says, "Okay, Jerry, how you rank Auburn, Florida, and LSU jobs if Lane where you go? If you're Lane, where you go?"
Yeah, if he goes anywhere, traditionally most people would say LSU is the best job. LSU and Florida have won the same amount of national championships since 97 or 96. So they both won 3. You can get it done anywhere. Auburn won one in 2010. They had Superman, but then they got back a few years later with Gus Malzahn. So you can win a title. It's been proven at either of those 3 places. And they definitely have. I just wonder if Florida's better situated than LSU right now. LSU is – LSU's interesting because the majority of those kids stayed in state for years and years and years. But now, can they play in the same sandbox with some of these schools from an NIL perspective? Are they going to be able to? Are they more susceptible to a key guy or 2 leaving their state than they were 10 years ago? I think that's because Nick Saban was the guy that beat him for years. Whether it's Cam Robinson up on I-20, Hootie Jones, who's a 5-star recruit. Landon Collins in the New Orleans area. He was the one that was doing the damage against LSU by and large. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not there anymore, but can they still compete? Florida, I think, it may be situated a little better in a weird way from an NIL standpoint, but it's close. I mean, it really comes down to how much do you value being a dominant school in your state and then be able to go 3 hours east into Houston and a quick flight to Dallas and then knock on over. See, the other thing with LSU that's different now, guys, Mississippi junior colleges aren't what they used to be because there's no SAT, ACT requirements anymore. There's no test. So those JUCOs, Mississippi and Mississippi State and LSU got really good players out there for a long time, and those don't exist anymore the way they used to be. So I just kind of wonder if Florida's a little better situated right now if Lane picked Florida over LSU, but I think it's close, and I think Auburn's third on that list.
All right, Mike, up next here, basketball question for Jerry. He says, what is the ceiling for this year's team? What player are you most excited about watching? He said, him is Matthijs. Thank you, Mike, for the super chat.
Well, I put out on ontexasfootball.com today that things are trending towards Matas and Lucina playing Tuesday. They held both those guys out of both of the scrimmages, the exhibition game scrimmages, whatever you want to call them, scrimmages in that case, because they weren't exhibition games for the public. Matas had an ankle, Lucina coming off the knees. Just, you always have some minor swelling or something, some soreness. So they held him out. Things early last week weren't trending positively. They're trending better now. I expect at least one to play. I think we're trending, unless there's a setback, to both those guys be able to hit the court. So we'll see. Player I want to watch on this team, I mean, I think Sean Miller's player development is going to be really, really high end at Texas. I'm interested to see what Kendall Weaver looks like under Sean Miller. And because he's a great effort player, he's an Energizer Bunny type, he's a great defensive player, he's the best, maybe the best pound for pound athlete on the campus right now. He's a total freak show athletically. But they're going to play with more pace this year. It's called fast execution offense. It's not going to look like Gonzaga or Arizona until he gets more players in for his system. But you're going to see some glimpses of that. And what does Kendall Weaver look like in transition, cutting without the basketball? There's going to be more off-ball movement this year. So I think he has a chance to make a pretty decent jump for this team. Matas has to stay out of foul trouble. He had one of the highest foul rates in college basketball last year. Now he's moving up in league, in athleticism, in length, in conference. And right out of the gate, if he's not quite 100%, he's playing against Duke, and those guys are going to attack him and try to get him in foul trouble, knowing that he's been a fouling machine his first year. And I think he's got a bright future of basketball, by the way. But he's going to have to learn how to play without fouling as much. But keys for this team, how well are they going to shoot the three this year, really, truly? And it can't be a one-game snapshot. I don't care if they go 4-20 against Duke or 9-22. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, let's look at after 9 or 10 games. What do they look like from three after 9 or 10 games? What do they look like? Where are they sitting? What does Wilcher look like? Does Dalen Swain improve? What are those? Cam Heidi's going to knock down shots. Tremont Mark's going to knock down shots. Jordan Pope's going to knock down shots. Is Nick Cody, who hit 2 threes against SMU, is he going to be a consistent floor spacer for you? That's what I'm looking at. And 2 is the fouls on the bigs. They got to be able to play without fouling, Lucina and Matas, because you can get into some issues in the SEC with the length and athleticism of the league. You got to be able to play without fouling.
All right. Good stuff, Jerry. All right, Justin, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. What are y'all's thoughts on the young guys in the secondary so far this season? I still don't feel like Derek Williams is 100%. He's not where he was last year. I feel like Black needs some more seasoning. I agree with you about the Kobe Black thing. I thought Kobe Black would be a little further along at this point in terms of being able to secure a spot, but I feel like Cade Phillips was thrown in there just as much as Kobe Black a little bit. And I agree with you about Derek Williams. He slipped on, what's that last Hoskins touchdown they scored on? It was a scramble drill one. He slips on that one. I feel like he doesn't necessarily have his sea legs back just yet. But I still love Derek Williams as a player, especially as a safety that can support the run from depth. I think he's really good there. I think Jelani McDonald, I don't know if he's considered a young player, but he's a star. I don't know if he'll come back actually now, consider how good he's been playing so far this season. Some of the other young guys, I mean, Xavier Filsaime had a tough game in addition to the injury. So I think those young guys right now, they're not quite ready. They're not quite there. I can't wait to see if Jonah Williams gets more reps because of the injuries at safety. And he was in there at the end, but only out of necessity. But I know he hasn't practiced as much because he was dealing with injuries early on. I can't wait to see him with more practice reps, get extra playing time. I think he could be special. I don't know about obviously this year, but some of those young guys, I think he's special. I love him and Cade Phillips. I do. I think Grayson Littleton. I mean, at one point you had three freshmen out there.
Well, I think one of the interesting things that's going to happen with Texas in the offseason, and gosh, but to answer this question, where does Grayson Littleton factor in next year for Texas? Because do you go to the portal at corner, or do you move Littleton to corner and look for an experienced guy potentially out of the portal nickel? I think that's going to be very interesting to see where Texas goes with Grayson Littleton in year 2. I mean, look, John A. Barron made the move to corner. His final year, does Texas move Littleton out and have him there for 2 years? Because he's a 3-year player, so barring injury. So do you move him out there for 2 years at corner, play him opposite Cade Phillips? It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Littleton.
I agree with you on that, though. It's a good point. All right, next up, Buddy Pal, Chief Big Guy. No reason to schedule games like Ohio State anymore. Play Rice, and we're 8-1, top 10. We don't need a tiebreaker for a 14 playoff anymore, like we did in the Big 12. Call it cowardice. I don't care. The only thing that matters is the playoff. Playoffs.
Yeah. So even if you exchange Rice for, I don't know, somebody in the chat said Rutgers, right? Especially going to the 9-team conference schedule. I look, a lot depends on when it goes to 16 playoff teams, which is that going to be 27 or is that going to be 28? It's probably going to be one of those 2 years, right? So as a lot of it goes to depends on when you go to 16 teams, because right now you're at the hope if you're a 3-loss team, you can get in. You need Notre Dame to lose at Pitt in 2 weeks, by the way. Then I do think a 3-loss team gets in out of the SEC or Big Ten. That would be interesting. But I think in the 12-team playoff, man, I get people's point on it. I really do, because if you played Rutgers instead of Ohio State, you're sitting there with 1 loss and you're ranked in the first college football playoff ranking. You're ranked at 6, and then you still have 1 game to play with. If you lose at Georgia or at A&M at home, you still have 1 game to play with. So there's something to it for sure. When it goes to 16, though, I think that's going to be different, because I think you're going to have multiple 3-loss teams get in the playoff every year.
Yeah. All right. Gooder, I just met her. Thank you for the super chat. Says, does a healthy Texas beat Georgia in Athens? Kirby has an amazing home record. Please don't tell me we lose to Georgia 3 times in a row. Yeah, that was going to be tough, Gooder. I just met her. I do think Kirby has a really good kind of, I think he matches up well. His philosophy matches up well with Sark's philosophy. So I think when Sark goes in the game, he's got a break tendency a lot with Kirby. And I think for Sark, that can be tough. But he figured some things out in the SEC title game that he didn't know about in the first matchup. So we'll see how much Sark evolves from that SEC title game to this matchup. But I said that I love the game plan initially by Sark in the SEC title game. And then, the adjustments by Kirby. Kirby made some great adjustments. Then it was kind of just a slugfest from there. But we'll see. I mean, I think Sark has been, I don't know, he's not saving anything, but I definitely think he'll be deep in his bag for this Georgia game. Like, I'm talking about deep, deep, deep. He knows you can't lose to Georgia 3 times in a row and think you're going to be recruiting Atlanta like that.
Well, look, last week going into the Missouri game, the one thing we hit on was, if you watched Missouri's success against Vanderbilt, you knew Texas was going to be able to rush the passer really well against their tackles and right guard. And that absolutely proved out. They are not good pass pro guys. Now, number one thing I'm looking at for Texas, Georgia. Georgia has the best linebackers Texas has played against this year. Can they handle all those linebackers and where they're going to bring them from? Because they're going to bring him. And last year was double barrel A-gap blitzes that crushed Texas against their linebackers, right? Now, they don't have Jalen Walker to move around. They're not as good of a pass rush unit. But you dang well know Kirby's bringing those guys in this game. Can you handle their linebackers in pass protection?
Yep. Twist.
And how disruptive can they make it?
Yep. Twist, stunts, delayed pressures, delayed blitzes. Yeah. All the things that Texas has struggled with in pass protection, he's going to bring them all.
Because they actually, this is a total different deal than Vanderbilt.
Oh, yeah.
While Georgia may not have the Michael Williams level guy out there, well, Christian Miller, maybe if he's a first, second round level guy, they're going to be bigger, more athletic guys to initially jolt you, right? And then they have linebackers that are all draft picks behind them. So totally different talent level than what Texas did against Vanderbilt. It doesn't mean that's going to carry over. So I think that's going to be huge. The other big thing in that Georgia game for me is Texas defensive backs tackling in space. Against Vanderbilt, they were big games. Against Zechariah Branch, it may be touchdowns. Mm-hmm. You have to be sound in your tackling in space. You got to tackle much better in athletes.
Yep. Oh, I agree with you. All right. Rustin and Cleghorn says both you guys chances Texas runs the regular season table. What are the chances that the Longhorns win out? Rustin wants to know. Yeah, at Georgia and versus A&M, they're gonna lose one of those games, in my opinion. I feel like A&M's rolling. I feel like A&M offense presents a lot of problems for a defense because they're balanced and well-rounded. They can run it. They got a quarterback that can improvise. They got two receivers that are really just legitimate matchup nightmares for most teams. So one of those games, I don't know which one. I'm not saying they'll lose both. They're going to lose one. They're going to lose at Georgia or to A&M. I'm not sure which one makes you feel better as a Longhorn fan. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. Jerry? Yeah, I'm the same right now because I still need to see carryover, right? I need to see carry. Look, what Texas looks like on the road against Georgia, because every time on the road this year, Florida was ugly, Kentucky was double, triple, quadruple ugly, and Mississippi State was ugly for three quarters. So that's a great place to be if you're Sark, I suppose, going into Georgia. But I'm in prove-it mode, and Kirby's going to have his guys with the up, and they have a tough game. Texas has an advantage going in this Georgia game in that they get to heal, while Georgia's coming off of the Florida game. Then they go travel to Mississippi State, which you emotionally will not be up for Mississippi State, so you'll probably end up in a fight unless Georgia just overwhelms them physically in that game, which is possible, but probably not likely because of the emotion part of it. But people have asked the best case scenario, and the best case scenario is 10-2, right? Then you're in the playoffs. But somebody said, can you get in at 9-3? So I put something up on Texas football today. There's two scenarios. Which one would be best if you played the 9-3 scenario? You lose to Georgia, beat Arkansas, and beat A&M at 11-0, who's going to be 3 or 2 in the college football playoff ranking. That may be your best path, because I don't think you want to lose your last game of the year at home. I don't. Then the hope's a little different there for me, unless chaos has ensued. They need to beat A&M. If you maybe pick one of the two games, and I know aside from the rivalry part, and if 11-0's A&M's 11-0 coming into Austin, you don't want them going 12-0 and celebrating on your field. They need to beat A&M. I do think A&M will be 11-0. They need to beat it.
And you want A&M coming in undefeated too.
That's right.
You need to boost.
That's right.
All right. We got one more question here. It says that, Jerry, how does Texas look with Louisiana prospects, Bryson Martinez and Richard Anderson? Also, how does Auburn hiring Hugh Freeze impact Texas in terms of recruiting and portal?
So Bryson Martinez at 2-day visit. I hear Texas is in it. Let's see what that means. I think the LSU commits are in such an interesting place. So we're November 2nd. Early signing periods December 3rd through 5th. The majority of these kids are early enrollees. So they're going to have to sign with LSU on blind faith, or is LSU actually going to have a hire by signing day? Because that's where these jobs get interesting, and that's where it factors in the recruiting for me. If people are battling on and waiting on a coach that's in the college football playoff, then signing day is going to come and pass. And those kids are going to have some blind faith on what's happening. And where are parents and their agents and the players at in that process? Truly. Now, Bryson Martinez was going to LSU. Texas offered him way back in May of 2024. Alabama, everybody else did too. That guy's from Gonzales, East Extension, 40 minutes from campus. He was committed there for a reason. Texas I've heard they believe they're going to be in this thing. We'll see. You got to get them back for an OV later in November. And you need and Richard Anderson too. You need this LSU coaching church to kind of be a mess. And I know people saying, can it get more messy than where it's already started? They needed to be a mess. I think anybody recruiting kids in Louisiana, those kids that committed to LSU that live within 30 minutes or in New Orleans, they needed to get messy. You need that doubt in those kids and those families' mind about that LSU decision as long as possible, in my estimation.
It's already getting messy politically anyway down there in Louisiana. All right, let's thank our sponsor one more time before we move on. We'll answer a couple more questions. But let's thank our friends at Rogue Shop. We appreciate them. RogueShop.com is where you need to go. Use that discount code on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop. They have it all from oils and creams and flour, gummies. They also ship nationwide, so no matter where you are in this great country of ours, they can get their fantastic products to you, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots, whether you're dealing with sleep deprivation, anxiety, aches and pains from battling Father Time, or your playing days. You can trust in our friends over at Rogue Shop. They have so many great products that can help you battle those ailments successfully. So reach out to them today at rogueshop.com and use that discount code on Texas. All right, we got some more super chats before we get done here, so let's hit them really quickly. We got Lane up next. Thank you, Lane, for the super chat. Interesting note with Georgia is they trailed at half in 5 of 6 of their SEC games this year. Lost only one of those. You can't let off for a second. That's a good stat, Lane. That's nice. Yeah, that is.
I mean, their win over Ole Miss was super impressive to me, even though Ole Miss may not be a great defensive team, but because I think it's the first time somebody scored touchdowns on 5 possessions in a row against Kirby in Athens. That was an impressive win because you want to talk about somebody that was in their bag. Lane Kiffin was off the charts.
Yeah,
you have to be.
Yeah, with Kirby, you have to be. You can't just run your staples with Kirby because Kirby's got the staples. He's got them down. Yeah, they're ready for all your staples. You got to come with something new. But yeah, the championship pedigree is what that is, Lane, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, it is.
The talent is not as the talent level. I don't think it's as high as it's been.
No.
And yeah, they're not as, in my opinion, as dominant as they've been in their championship run, but they still got the championship pedigree. It runs deep now. Yeah. So they all believe it and they know how to win. Like when they're down, they're like, oh, we know how to win. We've been there and done that.
Confidence and belief is an amazing thing in tight games.
Amen to that, brother. Hopefully Longhorns getting some of that. All right. Bobby says ETC too much. Any concern with Jedi Master Akina given secondary play? No, I have no doubt in Akina. I think they'll get it fixed. There's no doubt there are issues, though. I'm not going to sit there and say there aren't issues. That's back-to-back weeks. And you can kind of look at the Kentucky game. Kentucky game felt a little bit differently because it's kind of the way Texas was playing it. I feel like Mississippi State and Vandy made some plays that, some things the defense is allowing you to do. They're giving up. The defense is saying, hey, we're going to give them these things so that we can take away certain things. I felt like that was the case in the Kentucky game. Texas was taking away certain elements of the game and kind of giving Kentucky kind of the bend but don't break philosophy. That has not been the case, in my opinion, in the Mississippi State and the Vandy game. So I think leverage is an issue. We talked about that earlier. I think the guys need to do a better job understanding where their help is coming from and playing better leverage. I think they got to start recognizing quick game better, even when you're playing off coverage. You can still read the quarterback initially for your quick game, get back to your progression, whether that be the number 2 receiver or the number 1 receiver. They play a lot of zone, so they should be eyes on the quarterback initially anyway. That's I would think, because that's how Jade them played it last year. I mean, Jade kept his eyes on the QB last year a ton in zone coverage, and then would almost work the kind of the triangulate, if you will, the wide receiver, the number 1, the number 2, and the quarterback. I think they got to start reading the quick game better. Also think for the DBs, it just my kind of personal opinion, they got to start making more plays on the football. Now, I don't know if that's them, being more aggressive. I'm not sure if that's, maybe playing some press coverage at times or playing a little bit more man coverage. I'm not sure, but in the last 2 games, you have faced 80-something pass attempts and you got 1 PBU. That's a problem. That's a problem. You should be able to make more plays on the ball. Whether it be we should get an interception here or there, more PBUs. I think the guys got to be. That means they're not close enough to the catch point or to the receivers to make plays on the football. And that's kind of a macro issue. So, but I think Akina will get it fixed. I'll give you that. I think Akina will get it fixed. All right, let's get back to the super chats. Landon here says Texas' only losses were by one score, showed incredible grit in 4 quarters in several games. Georgia and A&M are going to have to bring it to beat Texas. I like Texas to get it done. Hey, Landon, I hope you're right. I mean, they do. Like I said, if this team keeps getting better from what we saw versus Vandy, and that offense continues to improve, they have a shot. There's no doubt they got a shot to beat Georgia. I just think, man, Kirby Smart does a really good job coaching against Sark, as we've seen. So I think, like I said, Sark's got to get deep in his bag and break tendency constantly against Kirby. And A&M, I mean, I know we don't want to say it. A&M's one of the most complete teams in the country, guys. And Texas hasn't really even played a complete game yet as a team. And that's one of the most complete teams in the country. So it'll be a challenge. But rivalry games, freaky things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we still can't really explain Texas OU. Most Longhorn fans, we're just starting to kind of figure it out, but that performance is still hard to, explain and rationalize. Yeah. Like, where'd that come from? Rivalry game.
I know one thing about the Georgia game. Texas is going to have to play their most physical game of the season. That's the one thing I guarantee against Georgia. Because that team is going to be they'll probably play their best game of the year against Texas unless they just get beat up this week or something. That's just Kirby's MO. I mean, that's going to be that's going to be a tough place to play, probably going to be a night game.
Yeah.
But the one thing I can guarantee, they're physically going to bring it at Texas. So Texas is going to have to play their most physical game of the year to start. Then once we get past that, let's see what happens. But if Texas doesn't match physicality in that game, they won't win.
I agree with that. That might be the case down the stretch for A&M too. Preston, I'm a little surprised they took this long to figure out this starting O-line and really injury forced their hand. Yeah, they were tinkering. They were experimenting with a lot, Preston. Like, think about it. The passing game has changed. Can I give you a couple of numbers on the passing game? How much has changed? How about this? Let's just look at the screen game and how many screens they've thrown this season compared to how many screens they've been throwing, like in the first 5 games, last 4 games. So if you look at screens, they were averaging 5 screens per game in the first 5 games. That number has jumped to 8 now in the last 4 games. You were throwing more than 6 deep balls per game in the first 5 games. Now you're throwing 3 on average per game. Throws behind the line of scrimmage, you were a little under 6 throws behind the line of scrimmage on average per game in the first 5 games. Now you're at damn near 10 throws behind the line of scrimmage. A lot of those, of course, being screens too, and check downs. By the way, Arch likes to check down now. He found the check down versus Oklahoma, and now he's using the check down a little bit more now as well. So the offense has been modified. They've tinkered. And then, like Jerry pointed out, the AJ Milwee in the booth. Another thing they've been tinkering with.
Right? I really like that. Now, I think that is big because, look, if you've watched AJ Milwee last year with Quinn and this year with Arch, he's sitting on the sidelines in between possessions with his iPad talking to quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
When Sarkin really initially built his staff, AJ Milwee works hand in hand on the script every week, right? He was his eyes in the sky. They were the guys that were supposed to be on the same page. They were supposed to be the guys having that conversation between possessions, or Milwee's hunting the next possession after a possession.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not that against Biamonte. He's gone down to the field where he worked with Arch a lot during the 2 years Arch wasn't playing. I think that's a natural thing, but I really think getting Milwee in the booth, guys, brings it back where this was originally supposed to be for AJ Milwee and Sark when Sark was hired at Texas. That's who he trusted in the press box, and who he trusts in terms of the scout of teams and being part of everything within the game. But his eyes, they're on the same page. I think he knows what Sark's looking for. He knows what to tell Sark. And I think that's really big. And I don't know if it's going to be talked about enough. I think it will be if Texas goes on and plays better offense the rest of the season, though, because I think there's something to that. By the way, on the offensive line thing, I do want to mention this. So Texas last year had really, really experienced offensive line, right? I mean, 4 guys drafted. And I know Georgia's not as good on the defensive front, or they don't have Jalen Walker this year. They had 13 sacks in 2 games against Texas last year. So if you go to Athens and they get 5 or 6 sacks against you, it's just the norm against Georgia. So I just want to say, I'm not convinced that what Texas offensive line did against Vanderbilt has any transitive property when looking at Georgia, because Georgia's got bigger, better athletes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, that Texas offensive line last year had the Lombardi winner and 4 guys that got drafted and gave up 13 sacks in 2 games. So I just going to point that one out for a few days heading into the Georgia game, even though Georgia's not as good rushing the passer this year on paper.
And not only that, Jerry, does the offense, this new offensive recipe translate as well? Like, it's getting the ball out quickly, a lot more 11 personnel, leading with the pass, a lot more screen game, a lot more quick throws. Does that actually work against Georgia? Or do you have to change up? Yeah, change up the recipe too. I think Georgia's going to take that away.
They ate up the horizontal pass game.
They're gonna eat it up. They're gonna force you to go down.
Those linebackers are so fast closing ground.
Yep.
The boundary. So that's an extra defender that against teams that aren't as talented, you don't have to deal with.
Yeah. All right. Eduardo, thank you for the super chat. Says, can we get the running game going? How do we beat Georgia and A&M without it? Archie's trajectory is looking promising. Can he sustain down the stretch? Yeah, the run game is interesting. Even in that game, you weren't dominant. The run game complemented the passing game because you were pass first. Now your passes, your average depth of target, 6.1 yards. So a lot of your passes were long handoffs, extensions of the run game anyway. So it was very creative of Sark, but you still have the problem. It's still the same issue that you really can't fundamentally impose your will in the run game. You haven't done that. I guess since the Oklahoma game you did it, but you haven't been able to do it really since consistently. So I don't know if you're going to do it versus Georgia on the road. I didn't think you could do it versus Vandy, and they really didn't, but they threw the ball so well, they forced Vandy to defend pass first and almost give you the run game because they were like, we got to stop this passing game, and they almost gave you lighter boxes, and you were able to run the ball as a complementary element in the offense. But I don't know if Texas can lead with the run game this year. I don't think they are built that way. All right. Thank you, Eduardo, for that super chat. All right. Thank you guys all for the super chats. We really appreciate all of the participation. If we couldn't get to your questions, I apologize about that. Direct them, though, to the gentleman, one of these gentlemen right here at Coffee and Football, bright and early tomorrow morning, Jerry Hamilton and Bobby Burton. They'll be at 8:15 tomorrow morning, bright and early. Also, tomorrow we'll have our Monday night prime time edition of The Winning Drive with myself, Coach Bob Shipley, and CJ Vogel. So if we missed any of your questions and you want to direct them to me or CJ or Coach Shipley, that'll be at 7:15 tomorrow. We always have a great time on that one. Also, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. And thank you to our friends over at Culligan as well for now being a part of the On Texas football family. Jerry, thank you for all your expertise, brother. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks to Bobby back behind the scenes. I think he's twisting and tweaking the dials tonight for Jerry and for Bobby. And thanks to all of you guys out there for watching and for listening. Until next time, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Hook 'em horns.